I am here with Petra from Unraveled in Paragould,
Yeah.
Paragould, Arkansas. So, Petra, I've been to the store a few times. So, how did you personally get started crafting?
Actually, I started crocheting when I was 10, and just a random person bought me a crochet hook and a skein of yarn and was like, "Here, learn this for my birthday." And I was like, "What is this? I'm not going to do this." And one of my other friends when I was 10, she already knew the basics, so she started me, I think that day, on chaining and single crocheting, and I just kind of stuck with it, which was kind of weird because I didn't stick with anything.
Right.
I stuck with it. So that's how I entered the yarn and crafting world. I don't know if I did other crafts, but definitely just yarn.
So, what was the first thing you made?
I tried to make a scarf, which ended up being this circle because, I didn't know the chain one method. I didn't know I was supposed to chain one on the sides, and I was 10, so, I was trying to make a scarf that, I thought it was long enough this way, and it just kind of made a circle. I think my mom still has it.
Excellent, excellent.
So, that was the first thing I made, yeah.
So, fast forward, I met you maybe a couple years ago.
Oh, gosh.
In your previous location.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to become a store owner?
Well, when I was a teenager, I had watched My Fair Lady and thought it was like, the most romantic movie ever. It was my favorite. And she had, she started kind of from nothing and wanted to own a flower shop. That was like her dream. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so romantic. I want to own a flower shop,
Right.
So I guess a little shop was kind of always a dream, because of the inspiration from that. But I knew flowers weren't really my thing. Like, flowers were, I love flowers, but they weren't what I wanted to do. And so I kind of just started thinking about it, and I was like, I want to do something, because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I loved being a stay-at-home mom, and I loved being with my kids. But I felt like I needed a little something that was for me.
Right.
And so I was like, the crocheting, I tried to sell it. It just wasn't working for me. And then I was thinking, and I was like, praying about it even. Like, I was like, Lord, I really want to do something, but I don't want to take it away. I don't want it to take away from my kids too much. Like, I want to find, a place where I can be a place for women, for moms, to kind of just feel comfortable and peace and bring a sense of community. And so he was like, well, what about a yarn shop? So I started Googling it, and I was like, this could be doable. I was like, this could be doable. And then my husband gets home, and as soon as he walks in the door, I'm like, hey, I've got an idea. And he's like, oh. He's like, oh boy. And I was like, hear me out. And so I told him, I was like, what if we did this? So we looked online. He was like, cool, sounds fun. So we looked online, and we found the original place we were at over in the plaza, and it worked. It was affordable, and it was the space we needed, and they fixed it up for us.
Like when I met you, and you really did make it a family thing, because I remember your kids were playing on the floor when I first went into your shop.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think, even from just owning your first store, how has that changed your view of the craft, the community, and your personal making journey?
So how has it changed? I quickly learned that I did not know enough. I was definitely, my extent of crocheting and yarn was very limited. I was, Walmart had been my only option. I'd never been to a yarn store before. Never ever had been to another yarn store. And so I was like, quickly got in and realized, oh my goodness, this is deeper than I thought. So I had to start learning, more crochet things to teach people, because people are like, well, I already know the basics, I want more. So I had to start learning that, and I had to start creating pieces. So in the sense that opening that really pushed me to try new things. It pushed me to be like, okay, let's try this crochet pattern, and maybe I can teach it. So in my crafting journey, it definitely pushed me to learn new things, so I could be able to help people when they came in, or be able to teach a class if they needed the class for that. And then I struggled with knitting I tried knitting when I was a teenager. I tried knitting again when my husband and I first got married. And it was just like, it made me so angry. Like, I was like, I couldn't.
It's hard to transition, for sure.
So I was really frustrated with that. But I needed knitting classes. So I hired Courtney for a little while. She taught our knitting classes for a little bit. And then, I keep looking off. Like,
that's okay.
Trying to think.
You're all good.
So she did it for a while. And when she came in and taught it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I started, and now I'm a knitter, and I've been able to start helping people with knitting, and so it's really changed that. And then just I started out with, I started out with a lot of acrylics, and then I realized pretty quickly people wanted fibers, and I was like, okay, you can get by with acrylics. I was like, but then I quickly learned that there's a place for like all yarn. There's a place for acrylics, there's a place for fibers, and some people want these, and some people want these, and so I would say those are the main areas that it changed the journey.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think that just kind of, all of our journeys. I think that's why it's interesting talking to ones, finding out their personal journey. Because I think we're all kind of similar in that sense that we find out these things.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
And now, of course, we're in your store, which is half yarn shop, half bookshop. So what transitioned from that original store to now?
Well, I knew when my lease was up at the other building that I wanted to move downtown because downtown has a lot of events. So downtown Paragould does a lot of events that I really wanted to be a part of. And they do a lot of just really community-based things in this downtown part of Paragould. I was like, I want to be a part of that so much. And so I knew I already wanted to try and move downtown when my lease was up. And so I was kind of keeping my eye out, and this building had been empty for years. And then it went up for rent, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a perfect spot. And I was like, well, maybe a yarn shop, sit in there. But then I realized the space was really big.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's a lot of space. We don't need quite that much space. And then, so it was kind of in the back of our minds, and a friend texted me, and she was like, hey, this place went up for rent. And I was like, yeah. She's like, it'd be perfect for a yarn shop. And I was like, yeah. And then my husband, about a week later, he's like, well, I just wish somebody would open a bookshop. And he's like, I've almost done it myself. And I was like, why not? We know that space is for rent. That's big enough for a bookshop and a yarn shop and a living room. And he was like, yeah, maybe we could even, eventually get the coffee shop in that through the back of it too. And so I was like, this is a great idea. This is something our community needs. It'll add a beauty to downtown that downtown doesn't have yet. So we were like, well, let's just call. Talk to the guys, see even what kind of rent we're looking at, can we do it? And we called it, and things just went like it's just like all laid out so perfectly. It just wasn't like there was not even like a hiccup. It felt like when we started off. And I mean, we had construction and we had things to fix up. We had a lot of cleaning to do in this building. Like so much cleaning. This building was covered in like probably 10 years of dust. It was so bad. But that's how we got here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so Petra, what kind of events do you have going on in the store here?
So we have our traditional stitch-in night, which we do about every 3 weeks, depending on when the holidays, how holidays mess it up. But we do that about once a month, every 3 weeks. And we have 10% off through the whole store at 6 to 9 p.m. We have coffee, and we just kind of sit together, do our projects, and have a great time. So that's something we do on a regular basis. And then we have classes. We do beginner classes in beginner knitting, beginner crochet, beginner Tunisian, and even a drop spindle class on occasion.
Nice.
And then sometimes we expand classes, but it just depends on what kind of time I have to put into that.
Right.
I'm trying to get us outside. There's actually a little park sitting area in downtown Paragould, a little bit behind our building. So I'm trying to get us outside on Mondays. I'm hoping at least maybe once a month we'll also do that. So on Mondays in the afternoon, we'll sit outside and do our projects and just kind of have something like that.
And then you also have a club, because I know I get text offers.
Yes, yeah. So you can join our text message marketing. I talk about all the classes there, or I send out a schedule of like what we have coming up, or I send out coupons for like Like our anniversary, we sent out a coupon that you could use in store, or like on Mother's Day, we'll send out a coupon. You know, so we just send out coupons. Are you stuck? So you can sign up on that. That's a different phone number than the business phone number. So
Okay.
I cannot remember for the life of me what it is. But
can they find that information on your website or your Facebook page?
they should be able to find that on our Facebook page. I don't have a website anymore. I took that down.
Okay.
I just didn't have time to put into that.
Right.
So I took the website down. But they should be able to find that on our Facebook page pretty frequently. I try to post about it pretty frequently.
And then you are involved this year in the Arkansas Yarn Crawl.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. Usually, or at least with last year, we had a giveaway going. About around $150 retail.
Right.
So we had a giveaway going, which we'll do again this year. And then we also had, I had brought in a trunk show from Ball last year that rolled over for a local yarn store day that rolled over into Yarn Crawl. So I'm kind of doing the same thing again this year. I'm bringing in a bunch of new inventory on local yarn store day that will also be available on Yarn Crawl.
Yeah.
So we have that stuff coming in.
And I mean, as the video is going to show too, I mean, your store is a fantastic place to come in and sit, knit, crochet, craft, visit, meet other crafters locally.
Yeah.
So I go out of my way to come here to your store because it is wonderful.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend coming to visit Petra
and you can come in and knit and crochet anytime. It doesn't have to be on our schedule.
Sure.
I've been trying to put that out there a little bit more.
And also just briefly, I know your husband kind of does the bookstore end of it, but from the last time I was here, you've gotten a lot more gift items, some mugs, some bags. I see candles, keychains.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely used book section like I talked about.
Yeah.
I wish I was a reader.
I know.
I have good intentions to read. It just never happens. So usually I like to buy used books
Yeah.
because they're cheaper, and I'm like,
And
if I don't read them, I don't feel as bad about it.
Sure.
So there is a great section of used bookstores,
Yep.
used books, kids books, all kinds of things in here that I just think if you're a hobbyist, you will enjoy the store.
Oh, for sure.
Which is nice for a knitter and, husband could come in and still find enjoyment in the store.
That was something my husband and I talked about. I was like, and all those ladies that bring their husbands and they're so bored. Now they'll have something to do too.
Right. Well, thank you for taking the time with me.
Yeah, not a
I appreciate
problem.
it. I
Really,
adore your store. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
So definitely come check Petra out. We're standing right here next to her Emma's Yarn, which is gorgeous right here. So check her out. Local Yarn Shop Day is next week, probably before we post this, but then the Arkansas Yarn Crawl is July. Is it July?
It is July. I don't remember the days.
It is July. I'm going to have all the links down below, so no worries, and I will put it up on the screen.
Great.
But definitely check her out on the Yarn Crawl or anytime. Come out of your way. And the Paragould downtown is nice and clean and
there's
easy
lots
to walk
of sweet
around.
shops down here. We have one, like sweet shops as in like cute shops.
Right.
But there is sweet shops. There's a sweet shop, there's clothing boutiques, and everyone's really nice down here.
Excellent. Sounds great.